So, just a warning. She said 10 minutes, I was told 12 minutes, okay? So, sorry. And I'm sitting because I thought it would be unseemly if I keeled over. It would be sort of distracting. So, bear with me. So, they say that dogs can smell fear. And I claim that policemen and border guards can too. So that's why I was walking nonchalantly across the departure hall, trying to look calm, cool, and collected, clutching my passport and papers, approaching the uniformed guard. When I got to him, I gave him my best smile and handed him the papers, the passport. And all I could do then was to wait. And he looked here, and he looked there, and he thumbed through the passport and looked at the papers again. And finally, he handed the whole thing back to me and waved me through. I will never know if he truly did not notice the glaring discrepancy in my paperwork, or if he just chose to ignore it. So it was only then that I turned around to wave at my family that was standing behind a glass wall at the airport. And that's when I saw my father cry for the first and last time. My parents must have realized something I did not know myself at the time, that if I manage to leave, I most likely will not come back. It's something that we never talked about at home, not very good communication in our family, and they never tried to dissuade me from. But when less than 48 hours later, the borders were closed, and all the citizens who were abroad at the time were ordered to come back to the motherland, they realized that their fears and suspicions became reality. So you may ask, what made a 20-year-old unmarried woman who should have been living with her parents turn her back on the socialist paradise that she grew up in? It might have, let me tell you about my family, especially about my mother. That might explain something. My mother was a woman of a very strong will, and strong principles, and even stronger will. And she was unapologetically had bourgeois leanings. And so she decided that she will bring up her two daughters as the proper young ladies. No small task in Prague of the 50s. Her mantra was, girls, remember, we are no peasants. So, there were things that we could not do. She would never let me wear tepláky. Tepláky were the cotton sweatpants, this little pocket on the backside that all the children wore. No. She had our dresses made by the same seamstress who sewed her dresses before the communists took over. So I remember the matching mother-daughter summer outfits and the red corduroy coat with matching red hat, of course, that my sister and I got to wear. Because in my mother's eyes, scarves were good only for digging potatoes. And she would not have been caught wearing a scarf if there were a hurricane. My mother wore hats. She had those hats made by the last milliner in Prague, and she wore them proudly. I got into fights at school because children made fun of those hats. Okay, then there were the piano lessons. Those didn't take very long because the piano teacher asked my mother if she could please find something else for me to do. I was that good. And so I did not have to do piano, so I chose shot putting instead. Then there were the private English and French lessons because the school Russian, compulsory, and Spanish they didn't count. But to top it all off, there were the dancing lessons when I was 15 and 16, long white gloves, big hair. You can gather that my mother was not a typical Czech mother. But the worst thing she's ever done was not being employed outside of home and thus not helping to build socialism. People like her were considered parasites on the society. So to improve the class profile, to show that we were not just total class enemies, she helped us to collect old metal to help the heavy industry, or horse chestnuts to feed the animals in the zoo. She also hung up the flags on the designated days. Only the Czech one, never the Soviet one. She also participated in the voluntary Saturday brigades that were strictly monitored to see who was really a good citizen and who was not. And she even let me join the Young Pioneers. I really like the activities, the physical activities they did, especially the summer camps. But it must have been so difficult for her to see me wearing the red scarf around my neck. So all in all, my life in Prague was good. It was sort of privileged. If you can disregard the regime, it was just fine. But so when people ask why did I leave, I can say for sure I did not leave to get more and better material things, because we never lacked for anything. I left because I felt compelled to. I did not know why, but I felt I had to get away, get out. So when I arrived in Amsterdam, I had no practical skills. This is my upbringing, no practical skills. It was not easy to start in a new country by yourself, not speaking the language, in possession of measly $20 that the Czech government would allow every citizen to take out of the country. I don't remember much about the beginning. I know I must have been interviewed by somebody because I ended up having a United Nations refugee passport. I learned enough Dutch, so I was accepted at the University of Amsterdam. So to study archaeology, something I wanted to do since I was a child, but was not allowed to do in Prague. But I also remember how lonely I was, how depressed, how much I drank, trying to scratch out living. My mother would have never agreed with the places I stayed at the beginning, starting with a squat at the edge of the red light district, then a commune, then some very questionable sublet, till I finally got a room of my own. Oh, I loved that room. But that was not the only thing I loved in the gray, damp drizzly Amsterdam. I love the fact that people were not rude to each other, that they were smiling. I love the fact that people could gather, young people could gather in the open without policemen lurking around. I love the fact that you could express your opinion. And even if people might not have agreed, at least it was tolerated. I love the men with long hair and women with no hair. I love the Hare Krishnas and the Mormon missionaries in the streets. I love the fact that you could protest and did not end up in jail. I loved the bookstores. Oh, the bookstores. A place where you can see thousands of authors you never heard about, and the authors that were forbidden at home, and the people you heard about and never read, all available. I love the fact that you could travel where you wanted to, and that you study what you wanted to. It was all very exciting. So when eventually my parents and sister ended up in a refugee camp in West Germany, because my mother felt that family has to be kept together, it was expected that I would join them, that we could resume the life that we knew in Prague. But I did not want to. I appreciate the sacrifice they made on my behalf, not that I asked for it, but they did. But I did not want to be the good daughter. I did not want to be somebody's wife. I wanted to be myself. And as much as loved my family, I loved my personal freedom more.